Despite how the Buffalo Bills season ended in 2021, they had a very successful season. They won a home playoff game against the division rival Patriots, and not only avenged their Week 14 loss to them once, but twice, as they beat them in Gillette Stadium later in the regular season. Sure, they had their down moments, as every team does, like a road loss to the Jags, but this is without a doubt one of the best teams in all of football. Period. They have one of the most exciting quarterbacks not only in the past few years, but in the history of the NFL with his dual threat ability in Josh Allen. They have a very good defense and even got better on this side of the football this offseason and more. And we are going to break everything down in today's video, and without further ado, let's begin. And we are starting today's video by looking at the first 6 games of Buffalo's 2022 schedule. They play in the opening game of the regular season against the Rams in a matchup I would say all of us are very much looking forward to. And that's already an incredibly difficult game, and it does not get much easier for the Bills for quite a while. They play the defending Super Bowl champions and the defending 1 seed in the AFC in the Titans in the first 2 games, then go to Miami, who, as we know, improved a lot this offseason as well. To be clear, I don't think Buffalo is going to start out 0-3 just because they have 2 tough road games, but it's not going to be easy, and that Week 4 game in Baltimore certainly isn't either. I think the Bills roster is too talented to be anything worse than 3-3 through 6 games, and I personally believe they will be at worst 4-2 heading into that Week 7 bye. And even if they are 3-3, the schedule after the bye is much easier for the next 6 to 7 games than it is at the beginning, and there is a strong possibility this team through 14 or even 15 games is 12-2 or 13-2. They may drop one here or there, but when you look at this span from Week 9 against the Jets through Week 16 against the Bears, Buffalo is a better team than all of the teams they play, and there's no reason to suggest they can't win 6 or 7 in a row. However, there is a reason all of these games are played, and as we mentioned, the Jags last year for Buffalo is a perfect example why. But this team is extremely talented, and I think in November and December they will be on fire, and heading into the 2022 offseason, there wasn't a whole lot they needed to address, but for a team picking later in the first round, they still had a very solid draft. Corner Kaiir Elam will play opposite of Trey White and is a big corner the Bills needed, and with how their season ended last year with the 13 seconds and then the coin flip, I feel like it was a given they were going to address the defense early in the 2022 draft and in free agency, and they did both. They added a pretty good pass rusher in free agency. You might have heard of him before in the 2-time Super Bowl champion, 8-time Pro Bowls, and the man that has 115.5 career sacks to his name in Von Miller. The safety tandem of Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer is spectacular, and those guys are, for the moment, at the top of their game. And the Bills added these guys this offseason when they already had the number 1 scoring defense, these guys being in Von Miller and Kaiir Elam, and the number 1 defense in yards allowed in 2021. They also have second-year pass rusher Greg Rousseau, who I personally expect to take a big step this year from not only his natural progression, but also learning directly from Von Miller. Sure, the Bills division may not be the AFC West and have Mahomes, Herbert, Russ, and Carr to play a combined 6 times per year like each of those teams do, but there's no doubt at some point they will have to go through a team in the AFC West. And by the way, it's not just exclusive to the AFC West either. The Bengals won the AFC last year, and the Bills will have to figure out a way to limit the damage Joe Burrow, Jamar, and the gang will do. And these teams play in the final Monday night game of the year in Week 17, which could be for the second consecutive year we see a preview of the AFC Championship game like we did last year in Week 17 when the Bengals beat the Chiefs, only to then beat them again a month later. And Buffalo did more than just add Kaiir Elam and Von Miller. They needed a running back and added James Cook in the second round of the draft, who is a very solid receiving threat and is also the younger brother of Viking star running back Dalvin Cook. Jamison Crowder is perhaps the most underrated signing of the 2022 offseason, as there is very little talk or noise surrounding this signing, yet Crowder will probably come in and catch 60 or 70 balls and very much be a guy when you need him most. The O.J. Howard addition was a low-risk, high-reward signing, and there is a good chance he comes in and catches maybe 20 or 25 passes all year due to being the second tight end behind Dawson Knox, and of course having other weapons in the offense like Stefon Diggs, Gabe Davis, Josh Allen, and everyone else. I also loved the addition of guard Roger Saffold, who came over from Tennessee, as that not only helps the interior offensive line out for Buffalo, but also forced Tennessee to do something else at guard, and when you have an interconference signing going from a contender to another contender, it's huge. And all of these signings and draft picks occurred for a team that you could certainly argue was a coin flip away from not only an AFC Championship game appearance for the second year in a row, but for a potential Super Bowl appearance on top of it. Not to say they would have for sure beat the Bengals, but anyways, that is in the past. The Bills' offense is led by fifth-year quarterback Josh Allen, and over the past 2 years, he, along with many others in this offense, have made significant strides, and they are again expected to be one of the best in the business. Stefon Diggs is one of the best route runners in all of football, and him being on the field makes other receivers better due to how much attention he demands. You cannot play him one-on-one with another corner and leave him on an island all game, and obviously not a safety either. He had just 3 catches for 7 yards in the divisional round playoff game against Kansas City, but please understand, there was a reason for that. KC went into that game and said, if we lose, we will make sure we do not get beat by Stefon, and forced any other player to step up. To them, it didn't matter who, and that player turned out to be Gabe Davis. And for as high as I am on Buffalo, I am admittedly a little low on Gabe Davis compared to a lot of other people. Davis had a truly historic playoff game, and he should be rightfully praised for an 8-catch, 201-yard, 4-touchdown performance with the season on the line. His number was called, and he more than stepped up. But I am low on him relative to other players on this offense for a few reasons. He had just 35 receptions last year, and had a catch percentage of just 55.6%, which was the lowest of any Bills player, aside from Jake Kumerow, who was targeted just 6 times. Davis caught just 35 passes on 63 targets, and aside from a Week 18 game against the Jets, in which he had an absurd 14 targets, he was never targeted more than 8 times in a game, and that only occurred once. 10 times in 2021, he had 4 targets or less, and while I do think he takes a small step, I think especially in the fantasy community, people are expecting this giant leap from a player who has back-to-back 30-catch seasons to an 85 or 90-catch year with 12 or 1,300 yards and 12 touchdowns. And this is with Stefon Diggs, Dawson Knox, Jamison Crowder, Josh Allen, James Cook, and everyone else in the offense. The target of depth where Gabe is most effective is without a doubt the middle of the field from 10 to 19 yards. You could argue on the targets from this depth, Davis was elite, as he was targeted 25 times last year from 10 to 19 yards and caught 18 passes for 303 yards and had 4 of his 6 touchdowns. Compared to the deep routes, which are classified as 20 yards plus from the line of scrimmage, he caught just 5 of 15 targets, which is bad, and on short routes, which is classified as 0 to 9 yards from the line of scrimmage, he caught just 9 of 17 passes, which is also bad. Not to say Davis can't be effective or be a hell of a chess piece, because he can. I just don't like these absurd projections we constantly see for him. The Bills' offense finished with the 3rd most points in the NFL in 2021, and I fully expect them to be right in that area for the 2nd consecutive year. Unlike other teams across the NFL where you maybe try and convince yourself that this can work, you don't have to do that with the Bills. They are an elite offense, and it starts with Josh Allen, who is coming off of back-to-back 40-plus total touchdown seasons, including a 2nd-place finish in MVP voting in 2020. The Buffalo Bills gave up the fewest points on the defensive side of the football. They improved a lot this offseason, and there are currently rumors floating around about them potentially signing Odell Beckham Jr. The schedule for Buffalo is not too difficult compared to the schedules that other AFC teams have, most notably teams in the AFC West, and I think there is a very good chance this team finishes with 13 or even more wins, and on top of it, get the first round bye and the number 1 seed in the AFC. While I love Josh Allen, I'd like to see him be a little more efficient in 2022 than he was a year ago, as his completion percentage dropped 6% from 2020 to 2021, and the good news is he has a great offensive coordinator in Ken Dorsey, not to say he had a bad one last year in Brian Daboll, the now head coach of the Giants, but Josh also has a plethora of weapons, including 5th round rookie Khalil Shakir. The sky is truly the limit for this team, and a little spoiler, guys, they are my preseason pick to win the Super Bowl. And I think that's a good place to call today's video, so I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, now is the time I ask you to please leave a like and subscribe to the channel, as it would be very much appreciated, as well as help tremendously with the YouTube algorithm. I cannot thank you guys enough for the support, and until next time, please be safe and have a great day. Love you guys.